Hello, sir.
Yeah, I think I'm launching. Yeah, we're live. Okay. Yeah, welcome everyone. Today we are dealing with advanced tax in our series of webinar that we've been running for the upcoming ICAN exams. So today is Abdul the lecturers for the class. All right. So if you are just joining us, please put your name in the comment section where you are joining us from. So I can acknowledge your presence and welcome you to the webinar. So yeah, Abdul I'll just hand over to you. As they come in, I'll be welcoming them. So if you are just joining us, just put your name there in the comment section where you are joining us from, and then I'll welcome you. So this is powered by Starry Academy ICAN Exam Success Webinar. Okay. All right, Abdul over to you, please.
Okay, so I can share my screen now.
Yes, you can go ahead and share your screen.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So while we're waiting for him to share the screen, I can see some people in the class. Please tell us where you are joining us from, your name, and where you are joining us from in the comment section so that we can acknowledge your presence. Okay, please go on, Abdul.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Yeah, welcome to Starry ICAN exam webinar for advanced taxation. The objective of this webinar is to take you through how to respond to exam questions. Okay, so depending on the way and manner the examiner has decided to ask the question. Okay, so in this webinar, we shall be discussing time management and the various type of questions. Okay, and also how to respond to exam questions. Okay, so um, it
Okay, so
is
before we start, I want to welcome Benga from Lagos. Benga, you're welcome. So, other people in the chat box, can you put your name and where you're joining us from in the chat box so that I can also welcome you? Okay, you can continue, Abidjani. Welcome to the advanced tax. So basically, just a preamble to what we are doing. The exam is all about questions, and questions come in different form and shape. Yeah. So they come in different form and shape. So your requirements in the exam is usually called the examiner's verb. So examiner will describe what is expected of you. So verbs, like we know, is action words. So when you see those verbs in your question, what do they mean? How should you interpret them? So if a question say you should list, how is that different from analyze or calculate or assess and all of that? So that's what we're looking at today. So if you are just joining us, you are in the comment section, please just put your name there and where you are joining us from. Okay, back to you, Abdul. Please
okay.
go on.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so in understanding the question, just like my MD has said, that they are examiner's verb. Okay, so if you have to analyze, okay, so what does the examiner mean by the word analyze? And when you're asked to apply a particular principle, okay, when you're asked to apply a principle to a particular scenario, how do you go about that? You may be asked to assess, the case study, the scenario built by the examiner, and also you may be asked to calculate the value or now we are taking advanced taxation. So a typical exam question may be to calculate the tax implication of a particular decision. Okay, let's take a merger and acquisition, decision. A company is about to, merge with another company, or a company, the management of a company is thinking of, taking over or acquiring, another entity. So what are the tax implications in this case? And you may be asked to comment, okay, or compare two scenario or two principle. Okay, so you may be asked to compare tax evasion with tax avoidance. Okay, so now let's go to each of these and see how the examiner may use them. Now, in understanding the question, again, you have to it is important to consider the question requirements carefully to understand exactly what is being asked. Now, the following points will help you understand the question effectively. To start with, we are taking analyze. Now, this entails breaking the question into separate parts, ensure you discuss and interpret each part, and lastly, relate the exam question to the scenario provided. Now we have this exam type question. ABC Limited has recently received an additional assessment of 10 million naira from the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, being the tax payable for the year ended 31st December 2021. However,
All
the
right.
management of the
No, just sorry for interrupting you. Ibrahim Mohammed is saying she is having difficulty connecting. Please just refresh your browser if you're having any problem reconnecting. So just refresh your browser and then you'll be able to come up. Okay. So if you are still there in the comment section, you can leave your name and where you're joining us from, and then I can acknowledge your presence. Thank you. Please continue, Abdul.
okay, thank you, sir. So now for this type of exam question, we have to analyze the scenario in line with the provisions of the tax law. Now, to start with, okay, sorry, let me read the question. Let me complete the question. Now, the following sentence says that, however, the management of the company believe the amount payable by the assessment does not present, okay, does not present the actual tax payable, and therefore the management believes the assessment is unreasonable. Therefore, the management and has decided to engage a tax consultant based in Lagos to take up the issue with the LRS on behalf of the company. Now, qualify to be assessed to company's income tax. But in this scenario, the assessment is it for company's income tax? No, because the Internal Revenue Service here is what is the State Internal Revenue Service, and the State Internal Revenue Service does not have the power to collect company's income tax. Okay, so statutorily they are only required to collect personal income tax, stamp duties, okay, withholding tax, okay, as it relates to individuals, land use charge, among others. So now I understand that this question is asking me to analyze the scenario on the additional assessment, being probably the personal income tax, okay, resulting from pay as you earn. A company is required to register with the State Internal Revenue Service where it has engaged, or employed some individual in its to carry on or who rendered services to its company. Now, the company is required to register within 6 months, and having been registered, they are to submit their annual returns every year. Not only that, they are also to be filing their monthly payee returns. Okay. Now, to analyze this further, I could say that before the company, which is ABC Limited, before the company engage a tax consultant, it should review its tax record itself first. Okay, so if it is now obvious that, or if it is very sure that all taxes due has been paid, okay, then it can discuss this with the LRS. Now, to object this formally, it has to be in writing. Okay, so you have to object to the assessment raised, and you have to state the reason why you are objecting the assessment. So the grounds of objection must also be stated, and also you must respond to the additional assessment within what within 30 days or the period stated per the assessment letter. Okay, so this is what the examiner is asking from you. This kind of question is different from calculating or computing the tax payable or tax liability due to due from ABC Limited. Do you understand? Okay, so let's move to another exam type question. Here we have Starry Gold Academy, who has purchased goods worth 20 million, or who purchased goods worth 20 million on 28th of March 2020 from Cashier Enterprises. Though Cashier had incurred the sum of 1,125,000 naira, being VAT paid on the goods purchased at 15 million naira. Required, apply. Note the action word there. Apply the provisions of the Finance Act of 2019 on the above scenario. Now, this entails putting into action the law requirements in a given case scenario, and you are also going to relate the authorities you have used with the facts of the case. Now, what is the authority in this, in this question or in this scenario? The authority being referred to here is the Finance Act of 2019, and also there is a circular issued by the Federal Inland Revenue Service in April 2020 as a guideline. Okay, so this circular is to guide taxpayer on the application, okay, of the provisions of the Finance Act of 2019, and also it guides taxpayer on the transition period. You know, VAT was reviewed, the value added tax rate was reviewed from 5% to 7.5%. Okay, and that was, amended through the Finance Act of 2019. Yes, when the Finance Act of 2019 was signed into law by the President on January 13th, 2020, taxpayers were confused as to when to start using the 7.5%. So, even though the Minister of Finance then approves 1st of February 2020 to be the effective day for the 7.5%. Okay, now the FIRS has to, publish a guideline or a circular and stating the transition date there. Okay, now this question is relating to what we have in that circular as per the Finance Act of 2019. So, an average student, in responding to this exam type question, must have a good understanding of the Finance Act of 2019, the provisions, and and how to apply the provisions on this scenario. So, the goods were purchased on 28th of March 2020. Now, if you look at this date, it is coming after the finance bill has taken effect, which means that the applicable value added tax rate on this transaction will be at what? At 7.5%. Will be at what? Will be at 7.5%. Another question that could arise or that could be raised from this is that the examiner will also be expecting the students to demonstrate, their understanding on the VAT threshold, which is capped at 25 million naira for small businesses. So the Finance Act of 2019 also exempts small companies from paying taxes, okay, from paying value-added tax, from paying company income tax, so as well as minimum tax. Are we together? So an average student should also, in applying the provisions of the Finance Act of 2019, you're also expected to state this. So for the fact that Kashi, paid value-added tax on its transaction, okay, that is on the goods purchased at 15 million naira, does not mean that Starry Gold Academy should also or is also going to pay value-added tax. So if the total revenue for Starry Gold Academy for that year will not exceed 25 million naira, and being the first year, or sorry, probably in the last accounting year, the revenue does not is also below 25 million naira, which automatically makes or qualifies Starry Gold, to be exempted from value added tax. So in that regard, we may say that Starry Gold Academy haven't been below the threshold of 25 million naira, is not expected to pay value added tax. That's one you know one part. Then on the other hand, you may say you may also state that Starry God Academy will pay VAT at 7.5% on 20 million naira if you know it qualifies, or if its revenue for the last accounting year end above is exceeds 25 million naira threshold. See how the provisions of Finance Act of 2019 is being applied on the examiner scenario. So another type of exam question we have is assess. Okay, so in this question now, you are required to assess the impact of the Finance Act of 2019 on insurance company. Okay, on insurance companies. Now, this entails determining the strengths or weaknesses or importance or significance to given question. Now, the the examiner says the Finance Act of 2019 introduces significant changes into the existing tax laws. Yes, we are all aware because it affects almost all taxpayers in different sectors. Is it the banking sector you want to mention? Is it the service industry? You know, the insurance company, the manufacturing, among others. It affects the real estate companies as well. So now the focus here is what on the insurance company, because the examiner specifically asked you to assess the impact of the Finance Act of 2019 on insurance company. Now, without stressing yourself too much, you have to mention the value tax threshold because it affects all taxpayer in as much as in as much that your revenue for the previous year, is below 25 million naira. So you're exempted from value tax. Also, another unique thing about the Finance Act of 2019 for insurance company is that if you remember, why treating your loss relief for insurance company before 2020, their losses cannot be carried forward more than 4 years, meaning that any unrelieved losses after the period of 4 years, will be deemed to be lost. Okay, we deem to have been what to be lost, so it cannot be recovered anymore. But with the Finance Act of 2019, I think the government tried to play, the role of equality there. Okay, so bringing equality to the tax realm and allowing the insurance company to now carry forward their losses indefinitely. Okay, so insurance company, like every other businesses, okay, can now carry forward their what? Can now carry forward their company their losses, okay, indefinitely. So that's one of the impacts of the Finance Act of 2019 on insurance companies. So you see now, we've just stated the strength, the significance, the importance, okay, of the Finance Act of 2019 on insurance company, because carrying forward the losses, unrelieved losses, indefinitely means a lot of things to them, to people operating or doing insurance business. Do you understand? So we move to another question type, which is calculate. Okay, so this kind of straightforward question, because when you're asked to calculate, what is expected of you is just to apply, do what we call mathematical process or mathematical analysis. So it entails computing using mathematical process of determining the value of an outcome. So here, Adewale receives the sum of 10 million naira as compensation for loss of office from his recent employer, and has asked you to calculate the capital gains tax payable of the sum received. So how do you go about this? Remember, the Finance Act of 2019 uh, introduces threshold. Okay, introduces what? Introduce threshold on compensation for loss of office. Yes, capital gains tax is the tax that guides, okay, the uh, is the tax that guides the compensation for loss of office. Okay, because the compensation for loss of office is seen as a chargeable gain. Okay, is seen as what? Is seen as what? As a chargeable gain. So, and the rate is at 10%. Okay, flat rates at what? At 10%, be it an individual or corporate organization. But the Finance Act of 2019 introduced the threshold by stating that uh, any compensation for loss of office received below 10 million naira are exempted from what? Are exempted from tax. Any compensation for loss of office of 10 million naira and below are exempted from what? Are exempted from capital gains tax. So, are we to calculate here? No. But what do we need to do? What we need to do is just to what? Is just to state the provision of the Finance Act of 2019, except where the date given by the examiner is before the effective date of the Finance Act of 2019. Otherwise, capital gains tax will not be computed on this. Also, we may also reference the provision of Finance Act of 2020, which states that the compensation for capital gains tax on compensation for loss of office will be computed on the excess of 10 million naira. So let's assume Adewale received the sum of 15 million naira. Okay, going by the Finance Act of 2019, it says any compensation for loss of office received in the sum of 10 million naira and below are exempted from capital gains tax. So when you receive 15 million naira, how do you compute? Are you going to apply 10% on the 15 million naira? The answer is no. So what you need to do according to Finance Act of 2020 is to first deduct the exemption or the relief of 10 million naira. So it is on the excess of that 10 million naira you apply your capital gains tax rate of 10%. So meaning that Adewale will be paying what? 10% of 5 million naira being the excess, okay, of what? Of the 10 million naira relief. So Adewale will be paying capital gains tax of 500,000 naira. Is that clear? Are we together? Okay. So next we have comments. Yes, this entails including an explanation,
Okay, before you
illustration.
go on, thank you very much. There are a few people that have just joined us. So, yeah, Ibrahim, are you? Can you confirm that you can hear the voice very well now? Please indicate that in the comment section. Then, if you are just joining, I want to welcome you, especially for creating the time to come and learn about these exam tips that we're sharing today. Yeah, we're not solving the question here. We're just telling you if you meet this kind of question in the exam, what does the examiner want you to do? That is the action verbs. We're describing them based on how the examiner have given us feedback of what they want you to do in the exam. All right. So if you're just joining us and have not yet acknowledged your presence, please put your name and where you are joining us from in the comment section below. So I'll welcome you into the group. All right. So while we are waiting for you to do that, also indicate if you are hearing us, if you are there with us, so that we can just get that feedback to just be aware that we're not just the only two on this webinar. All right. So while we're waiting for that, I will say, yeah, Abiganu, you can please continue. All right, Ibrahim, sir, I can hear you very well. I'm so impressed with the class. Thank you very much, Ibrahim, for that. So, Ibrahim, where are you joining us from? All right. So while we are waiting for your feedback, so let's hear others. Please put your name and where you are joining us from. So I'll come back and acknowledge your presence as we go along. All right. Okay. Ibrahim said, thank you, sir. All right. You can please continue, Abdani.
Okay, thank you, sir. So the next exam type question is to compare. Now, this entails explaining the similarities and differences of two, principle, okay, or two given scenario. Now, here we have it. You have to compare the new commencement rule introduced by the Finance Act of 2019 to the provisions of the extant tax laws. Okay, now the Finance Act of 2019 abolishes the gapping and overlapping in the basis period of a company when assessed to tax. Now you have to compare the provisions or the commencement rule prior to the Finance Act of 2019 and the commencement rule as per the Finance Act of 2019. Yes, it is quite clear that the Finance Act of 2019 has truly abolished, the gapping and then overlapping we used to have in our basis period of a company when access to tax. In fact, before the Finance Act, particularly when a company year end does not, coincide with that of the government's fiscal year. Government fiscal year is usually a period beginning from 1st January of the year to 31st December of that same year. Okay, meaning having what 12 calendar months starting from what 1st January of the year to 31st December of that same year. So for a company that has its year end to be 31st December of a year of every year, so it means it coincides with that of the government, and meaning there may not be issue of you know overlapping or gapping in the basis period. Now that's how it should be. But because of the commencement rule we have in the extant tax laws, there will usually be overlapping of basis period. And how does that happen? It happens because it happens this way. The commencement rule states that for the first year, a company is to be assessed to tax from the date of commencement up to 31st December of that year of commencement. Okay, hope you are noting this. From the date of commencement up to 31st December of that same year. Then the second year shall be from the date of commencement up to 12 calendar months from the date of commencement. So if a company commences on June 1st of a year and has prepared its tax for the first year up to 31st December of that same year, and in the second year, we are saying that from the date of commencement, meaning that the period from 1st of June of the year of commencement up to 31st December of that same year will also be included in the basis period for the second year. Okay, and in the third year, the rule says that you assess a company on preceding year basis. However, where it is impossible, that is probably when for a company that commenced in 2012, and the 2012 is the first year, 2013 is the second year, and in 2014 year of assessment, you are assessing on preceding year basis, and the company year end has been what has been April 30th of every year. So meaning for 2014, our preceding year will be 2013. So this means that we need a basis period that will end in a year before the year of assessment. So, and the company year end has been what 30th of April. So 30th April 2013, you count back up to 12 months. So if the year end is 30th April 2013, it means that we'll be having the period will begin from 1st of May 2013. 1st of May 2013. Sorry, 2012. 1st of May 2012. So if you count from 1st of May 2012 up to 30th April 2013, that's a period of 12 months. Okay. So the question you should ask yourself is, has the company commenced business as at 1st of May 2012? The answer is no, because we were told in the question that the company commenced business on 1st of June. So the rule says that if the company has not commenced as at the earliest date or using the preceding year basis, then you go back to the basis period for the second year. You now see there is overlapping. The basis period we use in the first year, 7 months out of it, is included in the basis period for the second year. And also in the third year, if we are going back to the basis period we use for the second year, it means we will be taxing the profit for a particular period, 3 times. We'll be subjecting a profit to tax 3 times. So that amounts to double taxation. So the Finance Act has done us well by abolishing, by deleting this rule and introducing a new rule. And the rule is all companies are to be assessed to tax on preceding year basis. All companies are to be assessed to tax on preceding year basis, irrespective of their status, be it at commencement, change in accounting date, cessation, or a subsisting business. So all companies are to be assessed to tax on preceding year basis. So you can see how I've discussed the similarities and the differences rather. Okay, I'm discussing what the differences. Now the similarities there is that they both have basis period. Okay, they both have basis period. So, and also after the first 2 years, all companies are to be assessed on what preceding year basis. So this is how you compare. Okay, so you compare the provisions of the extant house laws with that of the Finance Act of 2019, because now it is from the date of for a company that commenced business after the effective date of the Finance Act of 2019, their basis period shall be what? Shall be on preceding year basis. So if a company commenced business in 2020, let's say June 1st, 2020, and you won't you won't assess the company to tax until after a period of 1 year, except where the company has chosen an accounting year end that ends in the year of commencement. So for instance, now the company commenced business on 1st June 2020, but has its account prepared to 31st December of 2020. So in 2021 year of assessment, the company will be assessed to tax for just 7 months. Okay, so on preceding year basis, it will be assessed to tax, but the basis period will be an abnormal basis period of 7 months. And in 2022 year of assessment, the company will be assessed to tax fully for a period of 12 months in 2021. So that's that on compare. Then we move to conclusion. Yes, this entails ending your answer well in case scenario. Then we have criticize.
All
This
right,
also
all right.
entails.
Thank you very much. So just Ibrahim is joining us from Abuja. Hi, it's Abuja today, and welcome. So who else is in the house? Please let us know where you are joining us from, your name, and where you are joining us from. So you can put that in the comment section. So rather than send it privately, you can send it publicly so that every one of us will see it. All right. So I want to welcome you all and thank you for your time. All right. So if you have not put your name and where you are joining us from in the comment section, please go right away and do that. So I'll come back and acknowledge your presence. Okay. So please go on, Abdani.
Okay, thank you, sir. Then here we have divine, which entails giving meaning to a question. So you ensure to keep it short and relevant. So here you have been asked to define investment income. Okay, but the examiner does not ask you straightforward that by saying divine investment income. No, there is a short sentence. Investment incomes are income earned from investment. Divine. Okay, so ordinarily what you have been asked here is to define the subject, which is investment incomes. Okay, so investment incomes are incomes earned from an activity that you are not physically involved. Okay, so I call them passive income, passive earnings. Okay, so they include dividend, interest income, okay, rent, among others. Okay, so investment income are some investment income may be taken as frank investment income, such as such as dividend income, interest income, among others. Now, an investment income may be frank investment income if the income has suffered withholding tax at source. That's all. And again, it is important to mention this when responding to examiner question. Please always take note as at what are the marks awarded or allocated to such question. So for this type of question, I don't think the examiner will award more than 1 or 2 marks. Okay, for this question type. So you don't need to waste much of your time on it. So within maximum of 30 seconds, or let's say 2 minutes, you should be done with this question because they are just asked to define. So the examiner is not demanding too much from you. It's just to test your understanding on what investment incomes are. Okay. Now we also have describe. This entails giving a detailed account of qualities of features of qualities or features of a of a given scenario. Okay. So now we are asked to describe the various types of employment specifies under paragraph 1 of the first schedule to Peter 2004 as amended. What are the types of employments we have? According to Peter, we have foreign employment and we have Nigerian employment. If you are employed by a Nigerian company in Nigeria here, you have what? You are a Nigerian employee. Okay, you are under what? You are under a Nigerian employment. And if you are employed by a foreign company, not located in Nigeria or not resident in Nigeria. Probably you are employed by UAC South Africa. Okay, then you are working under foreign employment altogether. So the same thing applies to expatriates in Nigeria. Okay, so in their home country, they are in they are in foreign employment. Okay, so again, we have Nigerian employment, and we have foreign employment. Now, uh, another exam type question is to discuss. This entails giving or giving detailed arguments about the pros and cons of an issue. Okay, so you have to discuss the conditions when information on taxpayers may be disclosed. Yes, when required by law, or where there is need to disclose. Okay, so the tax authority may disclose taxpayer information when required by another uh, agency. Okay, let's say the EFCC. They're also a regulatory authority. So a tax consultant may also disclose the information of their clients, okay, or of his claims, where it is requested for by, let's say, maybe ICAN, or maybe the disciplinary committee of ICAN, among others. And probably when it is needed to be used as an evidence at the court of law. Okay, so that's that on discuss. Then we have evaluate. This entails determining the scenario in the light of the argument for and against. So you ensure you mention evidence to support your evaluation. You ensure to mention evidence to support your evaluation. So yeah, the Finance Act of 2020 amends the provision of the personal income tax on the definition of gross income and the application of the consolidated relief allowance required. Evaluate the effect of the Finance Act of 2020 on the computation of personal income tax for individuals. Evaluate the effect of the Finance Act of 2020 on the computation of personal income tax for individuals. So, what's the effect of the Finance Act of 2020 on the computation of personal income tax for individuals? So, you know, typically it requires your understanding or the knowledge of what gross income is. Okay, you are not asked to define what gross income is, but you cannot evaluate without telling us what gross income is. Okay, so imagine you going for a debate and you have to put your argument for or against the scenario given or the topic given. Okay, so you need to tell us what A is. You also need to tell us what B is, and also you need to add that A is better than B or B is better than A. Do you understand? So you need to tell us the qualities of A, the qualities of B, the characteristics of A, the characteristics of B, and tell us why B is better than what than A by comparing their characteristics. So the same thing here. You tell us how the gross income has been defined or have always been defined prior to the effective date of or prior to the signing of the Finance Act of 2020. And you need to tell us what constitutes gross income, where and how do we how to apply gross income. And also you also need to tell us that the Finance Act of 2020 affects the minimum tax for individuals. Individuals earning below the national minimum wage or earning the national minimum wage or below are exempted from personal income tax. So they do not pay tax unlike before that they pay tax at 1%. So now they don't what they are now exempted from payment of tax. So in defining your gross income, you also need to take note of the statutory deductions. Okay, when at what stage do you apply your pension? At what stage do you apply your considered relief allowance, among others? Are we together? So now also you may be asked to list. So yeah, the examiner says that a good tax system must be based on good principles. A good tax system must be based on good principles. So yes, I agree with that, but what do you want me to do with this? He said list four principles of a good tax system. Four principles of a good tax system. So if you have not, read this before, you don't know anything about what the principles of a good tax system are, you may not, have a relevant answer to. You may not have relevant answers to these, okay, because it entails outlining several ideas, aspects, events, themes, and qualities. So what you need to note something that you don't need to explain them, okay, because they are just asked to list. This one is different from list and explain. It is different from describe. It is different from discuss. Do you understand? So when you're asked to discuss, then you will first list out the principles, then explain. Do you understand that? But you're only asked to list. So and the marks allocated that may be allocated to this may not may just be maybe two. Okay, so if you have two marks there, now start wasting your time by listing them and then explaining. Okay, so you just have to understand the requirement of the examiner before responding to his question.
All
Also,
right. Thank you very much. Before you continue, I want to welcome the presence of Oluwapelumi from Lagos. Yeah, Oluwapelumi says she can't hear us. Maybe please refresh your browser because, and then if you can hear us from Abuja, please let us know or wherever you are joining us from. Can you hear us? Please put it in the comment section and say, yes, I can hear you. But if you can't hear us, just refresh your browser. Then I want to also welcome Omotosho. Omotosho is joining us from Abeokuta. So you're welcome, Omotosho. So if you have any question relating to tax, okay,
so
Oluwapelumi says better.
we also have Madu Bike in the class, huh?
Yes, Madu. Yeah, I've already acknowledged him back from Lagos. Welcome,
Okay. No,
welcome.
from Abuja, apart from Abuja,
Oh, okay. That must be another
Madu
person.
Bike,
So,
yes, from
yeah,
Abuja.
Madu. Okay, Maduke. Um, all right. Welcome, all of you. If I have not acknowledged your presence, please put your name in the chat box and where you are joining us from. All right. Ibrahim said, I can hear you very well. All right. Thank you very much. So you can please continue. How many minutes do we have more? We've gone 42 minutes now. I guess you have just 8 minutes more to wrap up this session. Daniel. All
Okay.
right.
Okay,
So,
sir.
yeah, just one moment. Iron Iloma from Anambra. You're welcome. How is Anambra today? Iran. All right. Welcome. Okay. So please continue your class.
Okay, thank you, sir. So also we have another exam type question, which is on explain. So this entails making the answer clear, supporting it with enough details that are relevant, concise, and explanatory. Okay. So now this question is saying, uh, explain the following terms in relation to first schedule to the Personal Income Tax Act 2004 as amended. Required, you have to explain resident individual, non-resident individual, and the place of residence. Okay, so when is an individual resident in Nigeria? According to the Personal Income Tax Act of 2004, an individual will be resident in Nigeria if the individual is a Nigerian. Okay, so if you are a Nigerian, you are automatically what? You are automatically resident what? Resident in Nigeria. However, that's to a layman. Okay, but according to the tax law, when an individual stays in Nigeria, okay, for a period more than 186 days, okay, for a period more than what? More than 186 days in Nigeria, such person qualifies to do what? Qualifies to be a resident in individual in Nigeria. Okay, so apart from being a Nigerian by citizenship, of by birth, among others. Okay, so a foreign person may be resident in Nigeria when he has stayed or stays in Nigeria for a period more than 183 days consecutively in a particular year. Okay, so that's one. Then for non-resident individual is someone that does not reside in Nigeria. Okay, someone that does not reside in Nigeria and is not a Nigerian. Okay, is a foreign person and he has not resided in Nigeria for a period up to 183 days consecutively in a year. So if a person, maybe a Brazilian comes to Nigeria and spends like, say 4 months. Okay, he spends 4 months. So, and throughout that year, he didn't visit Nigeria until the following year. Okay, so in that particular year, he only spent 4 months in Nigeria. So if in the following year he now spends 6 months, or let's say 7 months, okay, so he won't be he won't be accessed to tax in Nigeria in the first year he visited Nigeria because he didn't spend up to 7 months or up to 183 days in Nigeria, meaning that a non-resident person will only be access to tax in Nigeria when he has used more than 183 days in Nigeria. Then the place of residence of the person, uh, there are various category of this. Number one of these is that, or the basic is that, your place of residence is where you reside on the first day of that year of assessment. That is on the first day of January. Okay, so where you reside on the first day of January of a particular year. But for partners in a partnership business, their place of residence for tax purpose is the where where the firm or the company, that is the partnership business, is situated. Where the partnership business is situated. So that's their own place of residence. Okay. So but for every other individual, their place of residence is where they reside on the first day of January of that year of assessment. Are you together? And also, please note that all Nigerians are assessed to tax in Nigeria, irrespective of where they reside. Whether if you like reside in Nigeria and if you like reside outside Nigeria, you will be assessed to tax. The basis is that all Nigerians are to be assessed to tax on their global income, just like the Americans. Okay, just like what US does too. Okay, so irrespective of where you reside, okay, you'll be assessed to tax on your global income. Are we together? Okay, so that's that. Then we have outline. So outline is, is similar to list. Okay, so it also entails explaining the highlighted points stated. So exam type question: Adam Smith, 1776, put forward the characteristics usually called canons of taxation that a modern tax system should have. You are required to outline 5 canons of taxation according to Adam Smith, 1776. What are the 5 canons of taxation according to Adam Smith? Do not forget your principle of equity and fairness. Okay, so do not forget wealth maximization and distribution. I leave the rest for you as an assignment. Okay, so that's that on outline. Then when you're asked to recommend, it entails giving what? Giving advice. And you may also be asked to state. Okay, so this also entails explaining by focusing on the exact point. Okay, so you're asked to state the composition of the technical committee of the Federal Inland Revenue Service Board. Okay, so the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service is what? Is the chairman of the technical committee of the FIRS. So he also doubles as what? As the chairman of the technical committee of the FIRS. Do not also forget that the secretary of the FIRS is also a member of the technical committee. I leave the rest for you as an assignment. And then also we have summarize. Okay, so this entails giving a brief, condensed conclusion, avoid unnecessary details, and this is usually common in case study questions. Okay, so we move to effective time management. Effective time management, how to manage your time in the exam. Okay, so your exam this time is divided into what? Into uh three section. It's divided into what? Divided into three sections. So your approach to planning your time for the exam is crucial for completing the exam and ensuring the best use of the time available. So now students have been restricted to go into the exam or with their wristwatch. Okay, so but you usually have your work clock. Okay, you usually have your work clock in the exam hall, which you can use to to time or to set your time. Okay, for
Thank
each
you very
question.
much. Thank you very much. Yes, sorry for interrupting you again. So if you're just joining us, please tell us your name and where you are joining us from in this webinar. We should be wrapping up in the next 10 minutes. So Abdulganim, thank you very much. I think I can take over from here on time management and just wrap up because it's going to run into what I'm also to deliver. So if you are in the chat box, you want to give him a hand of applause. I am clapping here physically, as you can see. He has done a very good job. Thank you very much. So let's have your comments in the comment section. Can you give him an emoji, a reaction to what he has done so far? So you can please stop sharing your screen while I
Okay.
continue on the time management. So yeah, in the exam, time is also what the examiner is testing for. The examiner is not just testing for what you know, they want to also test for how you manage your time and speed. Okay, so speed is also of essence. So I'm sharing my screen now um, as we move into time management. So this is example of this is the last diet pass question. So can you see my screen? I'm Daniel.
Yes. Yes.
Good, good. All right. So what we have here is last diet May 2022 past questions. So how do you manage the time you are given in the exam? So here we can see that the time allowed is 3 1/4 hours, which means 3 hours plus or including 15 minutes reading time. So 15-minute reading time. What should you do with that 15 minutes? Usually, this is not likely to be your first exam, except you came in through the special program that I can have with some university where you come in at the professional level. So if peradventure this is even your first time of doing the exam, if you come in through that route, well and good, or you come in through the ACCA or CIMA or ICAEW route. But this is what the exam looks like, right? 15 minutes is a reading time. So what should you do during the reading time? First and foremost is for you to read the instruction. So this instruction here say you are required to attempt 5 out of 7 questions in these papers. So this paper simply mean there are 3 sessions. Session 1 says it's compulsory and it's 30 marks. Now, the 15 minutes, if I were to do this exam, I will skip question 1 because question 1 is compulsory. So there's no point wasting time reading it within your 15 minutes time. So I'll go back to the remaining 6 questions and pick 4 that I want to answer out of that. Bear in mind that the instruction here say the question session A is compulsory. All right, so I'll scroll down now. You see why you shouldn't read the question. Look at the volume of the body of the question. 15 minutes will not be enough to read all of this, right? I fully understand it. So this is question 1. I won't read any of this. So what should you do? You go to section B and section C. Now, section B say you are required to attempt any 2 out of 3 questions in this session. So there are 3 questions in section B, and you have to attempt 2. Okay, so what should you do? Go to the requirement of the question. Do not read the body of the question. So as I go up, you see the requirement, the body of the question are sometimes very lengthy. So your 15 minutes is not to be used to read that. Now, as I come down here, question 2 says required. So you can see here what the requirement is. So requirement here has, you say, having accepted the engagement, you are to prepare a you are to prepare a paper to be presented at the training program, which should focus on the following areas. So it went on to break it down what you are expected to do here. Identify and explain identification and explanation of 4 technology-driven tools that tax practitioner and administrators could use to enhance their work and reporting. So this is 8 mark. So if you read through A, B, and C here, right, and this is a question you want to answer, you can use your pencil to just tick it and identify that you're going to answer this question. So that's what you do with your 15 minutes reading time. You go to the next question and you skip through the body of the question and go straight to the requirement. Always focus only on the requirement within the 15 minutes that you are given. So this requirement here also go ahead to have a child. I think 2 children here. Yeah, 2 children, but the second child here has grandchildren, about 5 of them, right? No, 4 of them. So the A question here said, it said your report should identify, should specifically cover, then he went on to say what it should cover here. The principle of disposal as provided for in section 6 of Capital Gain Tax Act of 2004 as amended. So that is a 3-mark question. Then the B part went to have grandchildren 1, grandchildren 2, grandchildren 3, and grandchildren 4, and each of them splitted here. So once you read this requirement and it's something you have a full grasp for and you want to answer that, you tick that. Then you go to question 4 rather, and you skip the whole of this place as well, the body of the question, and go straight to answer to the requirement. So the requirement here, scrolling down, so you see that your 15 minutes will not be enough to read all of this. So you go to the requirement. I say tax, that is tax matter. Assign, as a manager, that is tax matter. Assigned to handle this matter, you are to forward the report to your senior partner, tax matter, showing completion of tax liability of the company for the relevant assessment year. That's 14 mark. Comments on tax incentive available to the company in the mining of solid mineral in Nigeria. So here, just not even reading the body of the question, you know that this question is about the solid mineral sector. Obviously, the tax, the client in question here is in the tax, is in the mining of solid mineral sector. So if you have a full grasp of that sector and you know what the requirement is about here, you take it as what you want to do. That is for section 2. Section B. Then you move on, section C. Remember that section B, you have to answer just 2. So if you can answer the 3 very well, choose the best 2 that you can answer. So you do the same for section 3. You go read through the body of the question and pick just what you need, the 2 that you want to answer there. So now, if you go ahead and answer 3 in section 2, and you answer 1 in section 3, what the examiner, that means that you have not followed the instruction. So the examiner will strike out the best answer that you have, the one that you provided the best answer to. They'll strike it off. This is what the examiners has given us as feedback. Just when we make attempt to consult them, right? So they will strike out the one that you have answered the best. So make sure that you attempt 2 in the section B and 2 in section C. All right, so we're still under time management. So that's how to utilize your 15 minutes. Then we go back again to the beginning of the question. See, you have been allotted 3 1/4 hours. We have already described how you should use the 15 minutes. So how should you use the 3 hours that you are given in the exam? Okay, I just go straight here to show you my screen. So here is my screen here on how you should allocate that. So remember that the exam, you are given 3 hours here. We've already utilized the 15 minutes by reading through the requirements. Then the 3 hours, we have 3 hours. In 3 hours, remember we have 60 minutes in 1 hour. So if we multiply 3 hours by 60 minutes, what do we have? We have 180 minutes. So 180 minutes, if we divide that by 100%, 100 mark, we will have 1.8 minutes per mark, right? 1.8 minutes per mark. That's what we will have here. So let's go back to our question and see how we should allocate that in the exam. Now, if you go back to to your question, you see this section 1 is 30 mark. So what's the maximum time you must allocate to this? We go to our calculator, we say 1.8 minutes multiplied by 30, we have 54 minutes. That is the maximum you must spend on section A. So like Abiganu said earlier on, in the exam, you are no longer allowed to use your wristwatch or to bring time or programmable calculator into the exam hall. However, it's very likely that you have wall clock. So you time it. During your 15 minutes, you also use it to allocate how you will spend your time. So if you, like we have identified here, you shouldn't spend more than 54 minutes on this session 1 if that's what you want to do first. So even within that, right? Even within that, I'm scrolling down to the requirement of the question. You'll find out that, yes. Let me just scroll down here. Even within that, the session A has 2 questions. I mean, the session A has 2 questions, which is question 1. It has 2 questions, the A and the B part. The B part has grandchildren 1, grandchildren 2. So even within that, you have to do your allocation. So the A part has 20 marks. So you go there again, 1.8 times 20. That means you should not spend more than 36 minutes in the A session. In the B part, B grandchildren 1 is 5 marks, B grandchildren 2 is 5 marks, which also means that you go back to your calculator, 1.8 times 5. You shouldn't spend more than 9 marks each. So 9 marks plus 9 marks plus, what did we, plus I think 31.8. 1.8 times 20 mark, 1.8 times 20, that's 36 plus 9 plus 9. That's how we arrive at our 54 mark. So you go and do the same for the rest. Any of the questions that you want to answer, you go and do the same. So for question 2, each of them is 20 mark, if I'm not mistaken. We are not to spend more than, let's go and work that at 1.8 times 20 mark. That gives us 36 minutes. You must split your 36 minutes based on the mark allocated to each of the section. Like we can see here, this 8 mark question, you should just give it how many minutes? 1.8 times 8. You shouldn't spend more than 14 minutes. Although it's 14.4, but you should not spend more than 14 minutes, so that the extra 0.4 minutes there, you can use that to go through your answer sheet just before you submit your question, right? Just before you submit your answer sheet in the exam. So make sure you allocate all the 3 hours among all the time. So if you're answering question 3, you do the same there. You go there, like we said earlier on, question 3 here, A is 3 mark here, while B has 2 mark plus 3 mark plus 4 mark plus 8 mark. So you do all the appropriate allocation of time there. Once the time you allocated to that particular question is up, please leave it. Even if you have not finished solving the question, leave it and move to the next one. It is in your best interest to attempt all the questions that the examiner wants you to attempt, rather than spend more time on the one when the time is up. Okay, so having said that, we have finished allocating the 3 hours. So that is how you manage your time in the exam hall. So if you do it this way and you have been preparing for this exam, you are more likely to come out successful in the exam. Then the next one is, how should you answer, what order should you answer the question in the exam? the order does not matter, right? So if what you want to start with is question 3, this is just like my question, my answer sheet in the exam, right? Just for the purpose of simplicity, right? So you can start with question 3. If you are starting with question 3, like we saw, have I think 2 or 3 children. So let me assume that it has 3 or 4 of them. So you put here question 3A, and then you start writing. Then you don't even have to start with 3A, right? Let me go back and see what question 3 has for us here. Because sometimes the other question may not have bearing to, to the body of the question, right? The other question may not have bearing to that. So in this question 3 now, it has 3A and 3B. You can start with 3B if 3B is what you are very comfortable with. And that takes me to what I will talk about, going for the easy mark. So make sure you start with the question that you understand the most, the one that looks to you to be the simplest and easiest. Spend time, much time, the appropriate time that you have allocated, and attempt that first. Okay, let me go back to my answer again, my answer sheet. So if you're answering that question 3, you put question 3 here. If you're not going to answer 3A first, then you put 3A, go to the next sheet and put 3A, continue. Leave enough space. Remember, you have paid for the exam, and so you can always ask for extra sheet of paper. The examiner will not penalize you for that. So you can now go to 3B on the 3rd sheet, right? This is 3B here. So you continue writing. If you need more space, you continue writing. When you finish your 3B, avoid starting 3C on the same sheet here. You can see here, I put here, no. Move to a new sheet and start 3C there. Then 3C, continue. Then if there is 3D, you put 3D there and 3D, continue, and so on and so forth. So, like I said, you don't have to start them in chronological order. If you have done question 3 as the first one, you can move to question 5 as the second one, irrespective of the fact that they are in different sections. However, make sure that you follow the instruction. Section 1 is compulsory. Section 2, you must answer only 2 out of 3. Section 3, you must answer only 2 out of 3. But you can answer them in any order that suits you best. All right, so having said that, remember that you only need 50 marks to pass the exam. You don't need 100 marks, but make sure that you go for those easy marks like I have explained earlier. Okay, then the next one I want to talk about is avoid leaving empty space in between your question. So this is question 4, assuming I was answering this. So as I keep going, you can see there is an empty sheet here before I start attempting question 2. So what should you do? If that is your case, make sure that you put here, continue next page on that empty sheet. Continue next page. What you are doing is that you are telling the marker that your question still continues in the other pages. Make sure you don't leave a blank sheet in between your answers, as I have indicated here. Okay, so having said that, I'll now go to what material should you use in the exam? What material should you use in the exam? Okay, so I come here to, if you have been very familiar with us very well in Starry Gold, you know that the material we recommend to you is the video lecture. Why should you use video in the first place? Why video in the first place? The reason is that psychologists, educational psychologists have it that when you use video, you will, if you have 10 hours to study, right, what you will cover in 10 hours when you are studying on your own, just reading on your own. If you use video, you will cover it in 5 hours. So video will save you time. Then, if you are going for lectures, what you will cover in 8 hours of lectures, right? Video will take, you will cover that same material in 2 hours if you use video. So this was our findings. About 10 years ago, we were running physical classes and running the video, the digital class together. So we observed that those who get our video lecture, they perform better in the exam than those who come to our physical class. But we realized also that it's the same teachers, it's the same lecturer that was handling both classes. So we went into the research and find out why. Our finding was that, you see, when you go for physical class, I'm not saying you shouldn't go for physical class. If that's your best bet, please go for it. But if you don't have time at all, video is your best bet. So what happened then? We realized that, you remember that if you go for physical class, if you miss that class, either because of rain or because of traffic or because of work or because of travel or because of family commitment, the lecturer is not going to repeat the class for you. And for obvious reasons, they can't be repeating classes for everybody that missed the class, right? Otherwise, they will never finish the diet, right? So we realized that that was a critical factor why students fail, because when you miss the class, right, it requires a bigger effort for you to read and understand it all on your own, right? So those who get a video lecture, they don't have to miss classes. So if they are traveling, they go with their lecturers. If they are in the hotel, they pull out their video and study. And if they are in traffic, they go through their video. If they are in the office and they close on time, they go through their video. So this singular reason, we found out that those who use video lecture perform excellently well. So what did we do? We shut down our physical class. We stopped running physical classes and concentrated purely on video lectures. So if you have not been using video, take this from me, use video lecture. What about if you have already started going for physical classes? Then get the video lecture and use it to supplement your class. The reason is that if you go through the particular topic video before your class, when you enter the class, what you will do most is to be asking questions, clarification, and all the rest. And of course, it will be obvious to everybody that you are ahead of the class. Yeah, right. So if you want to get our video lecture, the numbers on the screen are the one that you should contact. Now, what are the things you will get when you get this video lecture? You will also get 12 diet past ICAN questions that we have solved. It's even more than 12 diet because it's from 2014 till date, right? So you will see how we solve them, right? You say, okay, how is that different from the ICAN Pathfinder? If you have been using the Pathfinder, you will find out that sometimes there are errors in the Pathfinder. It could be topographical error, it could be printer error, it could be any error. And but remember that I can also put a disclaimer that the solution in the Pathfinder are not necessarily the position of the institute. So, but what do we do? When we start solving this question and we detect those errors, we correct them, all right? So why should you use video? If you use video, we also give you our 30 days blueprint or exam success blueprint that helps you cover the entire syllabus within 30 days. And we also give you access to our member area. Our member area has how many questions? More than 1,000 questions that we have put there plus solutions. So you can't really go wrong using video. But some people always ask, should I use only the video? That's what we'll say. Go through the video at least 2 times before the exam. If you still have time, then you can add any other material that you have. You can add ICAN pack and all the rest. If you look at the ICAN pack, they are very voluminous. I'm not saying you shouldn't use them. I'm not saying you shouldn't use any other textbook, but you see, you will be overwhelmed. Use all those other things as addition if you have gone through the video at least 2 times before the exam. So the number on the screen is the number you should contact. You can write it down before I stop sharing my screen now, and then acknowledge those of you that have just joined us. So if you have just joined us, we're rounding up now. You want to put your name in the comment section where you're joining us from so that I can acknowledge your presence. So write down this number and then call or send a WhatsApp or send a text message. If you call and we're not picking, it might be that we are closed for the day. We'll definitely get back to you during working hours. Then if you send a WhatsApp message or you send a text message and we don't respond, we'll respond during working hours. All right, so I'll stop sharing my screen now. I'll just give you a few more minutes to just write down the number if you don't already have it, if you want to get the video lectures. All right, so I'm stopping the sharing of my screen and I'm back. So yes, Abdugani, I don't know if you have any final thing to give to our student before we call it a day. Yes, over to you. We can't hear you. Oh, I think you need to unmute. You need to unmute, I think. No, on the screen, on your screen, just go up there. You will see the microphone. Click on it. Um, Click on the microphone up there on the screen, and then you'll be able to speak. So Ibrahim, yeah, Ibrahim say he has done a good job. Thank you very much. So it's like your audio is having some issue because I'm not hearing you at all. Yes, he said, can we have access to this video? Yes, you can have access to it. The replay button will be posted on our Telegram class and all that. Yes, I still cannot hear you. If you look at the top of your screen there, you can click on the turn video and turn audio on. You will see there, you will see the video icon, you will see the audio icon, you can click on that. So um, so I'm still not hearing you. So we'll still bring the class to a close like this. Thank you very much, Abduganu, for the good job you have done. And thank you, everyone, for joining this class. I want to wish you success in your exam. So I want to pray that God will give you success as you go, as you prepare for this exam. So if you are short for time, then make sure you place your order for the video lecture. Thank you, everyone, and God bless you.